One other thing I discovered, for what it's worth, this might be something everybody else knows or doesn't have a problem with. If so, that's great. Um, with earlier multi-blade products I had, like Atra, like Track 2, etc., um, especially with thick, coarse beard hair and also the skin that gets in there too when you're shaving, because you're not just taking the skin. I mean, you're not just taking the hair off, you're taking the skin, right? Um, it's easy for stuff to get gummed up between the blades. And I used to, take a pin and run it between the blades to chip stuff out. Though I also knew, that probably over time helps to dull the blades, right? Of course it would. But I couldn't readily wash the stuff out just with water under the sink. With Harry's, of course, because the blades are so close together, that's even more of an issue. That is, it's easier for stuff to get matted up in there. And I found that just putting the head right under the sink and or at the base of the sink, but just letting water run out of the sink into it didn't do it. Not for me. But what you can do that's perfect and it saves you having to mess with pins or needles or anything else that might dull the blades is just get a cup of water, um, hold it up high, well above the sink, well above the blade, and let a trickle fall down on the back of the shaving head from a height. So, potential energy turns into kinetic energy. Doesn't take much, but that does the trick nicely to blast out matted hair. And keep your blade nice and sharp so it continues shaving for a really amazingly long time, like I was explaining before. Anyway, so maybe I've said everything I have to say, or maybe not. I may be back to say more nice things about Harry's. Maybe once all his hair is gone. And let's see what else. This doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Harry's. Sort of a historical aside, I suppose. Um, First, also, having a substantial beard again has reminded me how, and helped me understand better how, for instance, some women play with their hair. And sometimes when I was like doing job interviews of potential hirees, I'd be a little surprised to encounter, some women, young women, but relatively, quite intelligent and professional and mature. Um, Nevertheless, playing with their hair. And I was thinking, what is this? However, having a beard, I kind of understand better. Why do you play with it? Because it's there, and it's tempting, and it's hard to resist. I mean, you can run your do the thinker kind of thing, whatever. Run your hand through it. Just absent-mindedly, it's kind of interesting, and sometimes it's hard to resist. So that's another good reason to shave it off. But I was also remembering, I always found this a little amusing, historically speaking. Back to ancient times, like the ancient Greeks and the people who preceded them too, the Mesopotamians and the other people of the early Middle Eastern and Mediterranean world. Certainly this would have been true of the Phoenicians and presumably the Egyptians. Anyway, at least everybody who grew lots of facial hair, traditional ancient Mediterranean warriors had beards, and they grew all the beard they could. And And actually, that display of their masculinity was more important to them than military efficiency. Because, if you have a beard, especially if you have one kind of grown long and maybe braided or something, it's totally, in hand-to-hand combat, it's totally easy for somebody else to grab that beard and yank your head around. Um, Mine here at over an inch long. Well, yeah, I mean, it it's already a problem in terms of military efficiency. I don't know of examples of hand-to-hand fighting in the U.S. Civil War when guys were growing beards again, of use of beards to control somebody's head and help you, kill them or whatever. But anyway, the ancient warriors just lived with that. It's like, well, the beard is more important than winning the battle. Until the Romans, and the Romans being the most businesslike of all the, well, shouldn't say businesslike, the Phoenicians and Carthaginians were in a sense the most businesslike. But the Romans were the most businesslike in terms of government and military efficiency, put it that way. And for them, winning the battle and winning the war mattered more than displaying your masculinity. And so Roman centurions and legionnaires were clean shaven. In hand-to-hand fighting, nobody was going to grab them by the chin and yank them around. So, anyway. That's a maybe sort of interesting historical aside that has, I guess, nothing to do with Harry's razors, except that the ancient Romans really could have used these. And let's see, I guess that's all for this particular segment, except, the beard's going to go pretty soon, so maybe I should do some profile shots. Hell, just to remember what it looked like. Before the next phase of what I call the facial hair striptease, where just to amuse myself, when I've grown a whole bushy beard, including the mustache, what I do just to amuse myself is, take it off in pieces and kind of experiment with facial hairstyles throughout history. So sometimes, like last year, I'd leave the mustache on, just cut off the side, and just have the mustache and goatee, and then take out the goatee and just have the mustache, or whatever. This year, I'm doing the Old Testament, and then took the mustache off and left all the beard, as you can see, and then maybe because I haven't done it in a long time, I'll do the kind of ridiculous sideburn. Get my chin back and the rest of my face, just leave the sideburns. We shall see. Weather is supposed to get warmer next week, like up into the teens, maybe the 20s, which sounds kind of nice. Just so long as it doesn't thaw again and all turn to slush. I'm tired of that. I like snow. I kind of respect ice, even if it's pretty underhanded. But I don't like slush, not one little bit. So, anyway, that's enough of this for today, I'm sure.